What's up, guys? It's Dr. Murphy. Today's date is July 8th. That's right, July 8th, 2021. It has been forever since I've live streamed, but I'm back at it. Why am I back at it? There's all sorts of craziness going on. I take a couple of months to retune and open up offices, and what happens? All hell breaks loose. Bojo over in UK is going to open everything up, never mind the spiking Delta virus, otherwise known as the Indian variant, which is B1617.2, going like crazy, escaping vaccination and being transmitted all over the place. But in the United States, here in Connecticut, we decided, who needs to data report? And so we're going to skip reporting on deaths, because who really needs to know about deaths? Oh no, wait, we'll batch them. Why will we batch them? Well, it's just too much to keep this up. It's too much. Yet again, another case of wealth versus health. Well, guess what? When we take our eyes off the prize and we fail to monitor what's going on, we get variants that are going to creep up. That's right. Variants will variant and virus going to virus. So today on Murphy's Medical Minute, we are going to go over the newest, latest, and greatest variant, the Lambda variant isolated first in Brazil, on today's Murphy's Medical Minute. That's right. Today, let's get the party started. All right, let's get the party started. Today on Murphy's Medical Minute, we will go over the COVID-19 pandemic, Peruvian pipes, and Lambda waves. Today, July 8th, 2021. So who is this for? This is for everyone. This is for everyone. You know, the variants continue to mutate, they continue to evolve, and that's because the virus gonna virus. And one of the things that humbled me in the very beginning is, as a tradition, mutations by themselves generally, is spontaneous mutation, is not the best thing in the world. It's not gonna be advantageous. However, when you have to infect people to cycle your life, and you can do that in a very quick fashion, you can mutate some very advantageous mutations. And unfortunately, if we're not tracking the variants effectively, if we're not testing effectively, and we're not tracking vaccine breakthrough effectively, we're going to have some problems. What's going to break through? Well, guess what? If you've been vaccinated and that vaccine is going to protect you from the wild type, if you got infected, well, maybe you don't have the wild type. And so one of our big problems here that we see today is the fact that we are blinding ourselves. We're literally going see no evil here in the most amazing fashion. Meanwhile, in Australia, they're locking down, and Tokyo is calling a state of emergency again. No, I'm not here for doom scrolling. I'm here to give you the truth. And what is the truth? We have a new variant coming up, and we need to learn about it. Are the variants really scary? No, we need to keep our cool and make good decisions, but we need better data. And with the government not collecting that data and not sharing that data effectively, we are left blind. Our knowledge of this new mutation, the Lambda mutation, C.37, is poor. Our knowledge about the spreading, we can only rely on the data presented from South America. And what's our solution for this? It's simple. It's genomic surveillance. What's the best solution? Slow the open. I said it before, almost at the same time. In fact, in May and June of last year, I was saying the same thing. We need to slow the open so that way we can effectively put these monitoring tools in place. We put the monitoring tools in place. We had a winter spike in the tri-state area, and then we ran away because we had vaccines as a Christmas gift. Hooray for the Hanukkah gift! We have immunity. Wait, no, we don't. Israel is having massive breakthrough with the Delta variant. So one has to wonder about this Lambda variant as well. Without proper genomic surveillance, we're going to have to carefully fall into this cliff. So what do we need to track? We need to track vaccine breakthrough. Now, what's amazing, unfortunately, you can see here, you take a look over there or up there, at the commentary posted from the Harvard School of Medicine, where the senior faculty editor, Dr. Schmerling, says, put simply, it is disappointing that the CDC is not going to track vaccine breakthrough in the public. The only vaccine breakthrough that they've advocated for back in June was from hospitalized patients. Because who cares if you can walk around and give COVID to 20 people? You know, who cares about that? What really matters is the people that are in the hospital that are going to die. And they said they don't have enough money to do it, which I find to be absolutely ridiculous as Jerome Powell continues to print money. Reverse repos are through the roof. It's crystal clear that there's more than enough money to do proper genomic surveillance. And last time I checked, President Biden was going to dump billions into genomic surveillance. Where the hell did that money go? Where did that money go? It's crystal clear that vaccine breakthrough can happen for a lot of reasons. It can happen because of host factors. If you're immunosuppressed, you know, Michael Osterholm the other day was talking about the fact that insurance companies aren't going to foot the bill for extra vaccination doses. That's just insane. So if you're immunosuppressed, maybe you need 3 doses, or maybe you need a mixture of vaccines. And so the insurance company is just going to refuse payment until they have a bunch of data. Well, when's the data going to come? 2 years? 3 years? So therefore, we can have host vaccine breakthrough. There can be viral factors. And one of the things we worried about with the Lambda virus is these new subtle changes to the spike protein in the receptor binding domain. Right? That's an issue. No, you don't need to turn on my Dropbox accessibility. In addition to that, what about the regimen, right? Do we need to give these vaccines at 3 weeks out? You know, there have been some studies in the UK delaying the second dose of the mRNA vaccines 12 weeks actually led to a better outcome. So we don't really know the exact perfect timing. In addition to that, did you thaw properly? Did you make sure that your temperature was protected properly? Did you dilute properly? And do you have the right dose for the right patient? I can tell you right now, I firmly believe that the mRNA vaccines, especially Moderna, are way too high a dose for a 12-year-old. They're way too high a dose for a 12-year-old based on the weight of the mRNA. And I'm not going to get into all of the worries about the spike protein and the stabilized spike protein. Oh, don't worry, it won't bind ACE2. Well, there are a whole crap load of other binding sites that the spike protein goes on. And we don't effectively know those. And we don't know which conformation is the best conformation for those. We've tested it, we've looked through it, whether it's CD147 or it's sialic acid, right? I mean, sialic acid on platelets, that's a big issue that we need to evaluate, especially as we have issues with the mRNA vaccines and thrombocytopenia. We also have issues with AstraZeneca and the J&J vaccines with the cavernous sinus venous thromboses and something called VIT. So is the dosing right? We need to review that. In addition, those amazing vaccine trucks that pulled out from Pfizer at the deep freeze, well, after they get dropped off, are they kept the right? Is the refrigerator cooler working? And then the batching vaccines. We saw the issue with AstraZeneca and J&J in the Baltimore factory. There can be errors in manufacturing. But who's tracking this? Who is tracking the breakthrough? Who is tracking the vaccine breakthrough? Who's reporting on it? Again, this is another case of wealth versus health. I don't think we are actively, effectively tracking the vaccine breakthrough for many reasons and a lot of excuses. I believe one of those excuses is, put simply, can you lead a public in fear that's juiced up on adrenaline that won't get vaccinated because they don't believe the vaccines are working? Well, a case in point of that is Sputnik, Gamaleya over in Russia. 70% of Russians aren't going to take the state vaccine because they don't trust the state. Well, when you have YouTube censoring organizations, when you have cancel movements going on all over the place, when you have a state which is failing to track vaccine breakthrough effectively, should we be trusting the state? Should we? I don't know. I leave that up to the viewers. Again, will the people have the confidence to open up the government? Will the people have the confidence to open up the economy? And when you open up the economy, it increases the velocity of money. Unfortunately, at the same time, we'll be increasing the velocity of COVID-19. Right? That's the next question I have. put simply. So we know this. We know that there are people who are studying vaccine breakthrough. We know that the CDC is doing a small amount of studying of the hospitalized patients. We know the NIH is doing some study of vaccine breakthrough. And large academic medical centers are all rushing to beat each other through vaccine breakthrough. The problem is the large academic centers, they're not where all of the vaccine breakthrough happens. There's a lot of point of care testing that's going on, and we need to be serious about that. Now that Walgreens has opened up and you can buy COVID-19 antigen pregnancy tests, like you can buy deodorant, who's doing any of that reporting? Who's coordinating it? Well, I can tell you the state governments don't want to coordinate it anymore. Here's my man over here, take a look up there, Governor Lamont, who I laud for a lot of the stuff that he's done. But right now, the state can't afford to do all of that data monitoring. They're actually letting people go. They're moving people out of contact tracing. It's happening in New York City as well. So who's doing the coordinating here? Who really is? Well, in this case, Connecticut is going to stop the daily reporting of COVID-19 deaths, and instead they're just going to batch it to once a week. Why? Because they don't have the manpower. They don't have the manpower. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, why aren't we tracking all vaccine breakthroughs? One of the things I always ask when I look at these things is, put simply, cui bono? Cui bono? Who benefits from that? And listen, vaccine breakthrough, I can talk about it. People can complain about it. I know, I get it. These vaccines are probably some of the most effective vaccines in this world. There's no doubt about it. Let's take a look over here at flu vaccines and flu effectiveness from 2013 to 2018 and 19. We have an adjusted vaccine efficacy of 29%. 29% based on site studies done in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Washington. The year before COVID, we were happy with a flu vaccination effectiveness of 29%. 29% sterilizing effectiveness. So we have to be serious with ourselves here when we're trying to hold these vaccines to a crazy standard. That being said, the flu vaccine didn't give any of my patients myocarditis. The flu vaccine didn't give any of my patients long COVID. The flu vaccine didn't give any of my patients a bleed in the brain. So maybe, yeah, 29% is probably okay if the vaccine is going to give perhaps 1 in a million people ascending paralysis, Guillain-Barré, which we've also seen with COVID and the COVID vaccines. So forgive us for asking for more than 29% effectiveness. And I'm not going to get mad about it. These vaccines that have been created are tremendously effective. There's also risks with them, more risk than there is with a flu vaccine. So why does vaccine breakthrough matter? Well, if we don't believe the vaccine is breaking through, people are going to take off their masks. But if the vaccine is breaking through, people aren't going to take off their masks. That's why it matters. So why doesn't it matter? Well, I can tell you right now, one of the reasons why it doesn't matter is the people who we found with vaccine breakthrough, the deaths from vaccine breakthrough are really 1% of all deaths from COVID. That's tiny. Yes, that one person, it's very sad, 1 in 100 people died with vaccine breakthrough from COVID. But because we don't study it so robustly, that number could even be smaller. We just don't know. And the same is true with severe disease versus minimal disease. And most of the disease found post-vaccine breakthrough is minimal disease. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the delta effectiveness going to be here? And why am I talking about delta? Because that's the one that's bearing down on us right now. That's the one that's bearing down on us right now. That's the one that's lighting Michigan on fire. That's the one that's lighting Arkansas on fire. That's the one that's lighting Florida on fire. And I don't mean to be a Cassandra, but wasn't Florida on fire in June of 2020? I don't know. If you're watching my Periscope tales, you'll know the answer is yes. You'll know the answer is yes. Why? They go indoors. It's air conditioning. Air conditioning plus low vaccination rates. That being said, Israel is having a big spike of vaccine breakthrough with the Delta variant from Pfizer vaccination. So it's not like it's not going to break through. It's going to break through. That's what they do. That's what viruses do. So we know that the Delta effectiveness is 40% more effective than the B.1.1.7. Now, again, to remind everyone, the Delta variant is the Indian variant B.1.617.2. This variant was ripping through India, and I don't know if you watched my previous live streams where I showed them cremating, burning the bodies, straight out of Game of Thrones. Straight out of Game of Thrones. So we can't mess around with these variants. We have to pay attention to them. So Delta's bad, but what is Lambda? When you take a look at what public health agencies or the leader of the CDC or NIH say, they say something like this. But I guess what I'm concerned about or worried about is the next one. Not Delta, but the next one. And I think we all have to be really watching this closely. This is the one called Lambda coming out of South America. And I don't know if any of you guys know or anyone has friends and family in Colombia or Venezuela or Peru. I can tell you I have employees and people that I care for from that area, and they got pretty ripped up. They got pretty ripped up. And what we're going to find is that a lot of that wasn't the Brazilian variant. And we were all worried about the Brazilian variant in Colombia. Well, guess what? Lambda reared its ugly head, and it's very concerning. Everyone doesn't know the full data on it yet, and so they go ahead and they say, which I don't know the data yet, but it's also spreading quite rapidly. So if it's spreading rapidly, it must be one of those pretty contagious items. It does have a 7 amino acid deletion in the spike protein. That deletion in the spike protein makes a change in what our immune system sees with the spike protein. So is there escape related? And the answer is we're just going to have to watch stop. We just have to watch closely, and we have to be prepared. If we're not looking for vaccine breakthrough and we're not effectively testing everyone and we're not effectively genomically surveilling everyone, then we're blind. We're just as blind as when the CDC screwed up the initial SARS-CoV-2 testing. Why was the NIH leading under Trump? Because the CDC, President Trump, because the CDC screwed up the test. They muffed the pooch. They flubbed the kickoff. The ball hit their face mask rather than their hands. Yeah, so we were flying blind for weeks. What do you think we're doing right now? I just don't know. I don't know what everyone's going to do. But the answer is we just have to watch closely. We're not. We just have to be prepared. We're not. Are we stockpiling masks? What are we doing here? Are we getting reagents? Well, I can tell you right now, no. Testing is plummeting. And what are we doing? We're putting testing in the hands of the public, which I think is great, but no one's surveilling them. No one's calling them. No one's giving them the proper answers. So, and if necessary, to deliver boosters that are designed against something that the current vaccines don't cover effectively enough. All right, so I want to give everyone a reality check on this. And I'm going back to this flu slide. Right, so take a look up there. Take a look over there. This is flu effectiveness. We design our vaccines based on what we think will be coming. Do you understand that? Based on what we think will be coming. And we evaluate that based on the genomic surveillance of the influenza subtypes that are found in the regions before us. So American vaccines are designed based on the Asian outbreak. Sorry. And if we're right, we're right. And if we're not, we're not. But guess what? Based on a 29% vaccine effectiveness, we don't know what the hell we're doing. At best. At best. And we're not doing that at all right now. We're not doing that at all right now. So let's talk a little bit about Lambda, otherwise known as C.37, not C3PO. Very important. This is not C3PO. This is C.37, Lambda, also known as the variant originally isolated in Peru. Does this variant matter? Well, variants matter based on whether they're more infective, whether they cause more havoc in our body, otherwise called more pathogenic, or whether they can escape vaccination or evasion. So we have to take a look at the mutations in these amino acids that we see in the Lambda variant. Here we notice that, is it more infective? Well, when you think about more infective, you really have to look, I like to look at the spike protein to gain entry into cells. I think that's very useful. And in this case, we look at S. The S as the S1 and S2 subunits. And so we find that the California variant mutation is there, L452Q. but we also see the wild type D614G. What's notably missing about this and makes us wonder whether maybe this is not more pathogenic, maybe it won't cause worse disease, maybe it'll just be more infective. There's no E484K, no E484K. And so therefore, the question is, well, maybe we won't escape vaccination as much. Well, there is a deletion that is very notable in the spike protein region. And these deletions you can see here. Right, we have a deletion in amino acid 247, 248, 249, 250, 251, 252, 253. In those amino acids, you have a deletion. That deletion will change what spike protein looks like. And it's a pretty decent amount of amino acid deletion. So it'll change the conformation. It will change the conformation. And so then you say to yourself, wait a second, with all these deletions, how can it be more infective? How can it be more infective? Well, let's take a look here. We can look at Lambda Pathology. I want to thank Pedro Romero, who just put on a medRxiv up here, a pre-publication, pre-reviewed, peer-reviewed study, which was done in Argentina, Chile, and Peru, where they watched and saw the growth of the variants. They did genomic variance analysis. And so we shouldn't freak out about this, but we should take a look at it and watch. For a reference, you can see here P1, that's called gamma, right? P1 is gamma, and that's a Brazilian variant. B117, that's called alpha, and that's the variant originally isolated in the UK. That's the UK variant. And then C.37, otherwise known as lambda. Look at lambda's growth from November of 2020 until May of 2021. 97% of all of Peruvian COVID virus right now is C.37, not C.3PO. The question you have to ask yourself is, well, why isn't it more in Chile and why isn't it more in Argentina? And this is why I'm telling you, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Maybe there were some reasons why there was so much more growth of this in Peru. I don't know. Maybe there was more vaccination escape. What you need to remember about Chile is Chile had great vaccination. What I find interesting in Chile is we don't have the Delta data. We don't have the B1617 data in here for this, in this publication. So I've got to look for that as well. But it's clear based on what Romero did that they were not screening for B1617. Otherwise, you can call it other. I don't think so, though. You got to look at the manuscript a little bit more. We'll look at the manuscript a little bit more. So the question is this more pathogenic? We don't know. We got to look at Peruvian mortality. We should also look at Chilean mortality and Argentinian mortality. But we do know it's more infective in Peru, and it outcompeted all the rest. Now in Chile, maybe we have some questions here. Is there a lambda vaccination escape? Again, another pre-publication. This is not formally peer-reviewed out of bioRxiv. Again, we have a neutralization study, and you can see right here that compared to simply the wild-type D614G mutation, when you add all of the lambda mutations in, you get a significant reduction based on the plasma. And then with vaccination, the vaccination rates also are less effective. Maybe a 3x reduction in effective plasma. Why? Because of the mutations that we're seeing. And you can see here all of the mutations. You see the C.37 mutations. You can see the L452Q, which is the Californian variant mutations. You compare all of them with the Moderna and the BioNTech Pfizer vaccines, and we see a reduction in neutralizing effective plasma. Holy cow. Don't worry, it's not the COVID. So, why is the world scared of Lambda? Maybe it's more infective. It looks like it in Peru. Maybe it can escape vaccination. We don't know. We don't have solid data on it yet. We've got a little bit of data here. And when you look at that data, you could say, yes, but is a 3x reduction going to lead to vaccine escape? How the hell would I know? We're not even effectively tracking it in the United States. And the publications that are there are woefully inadequate. We need more data. We need more robust data. What do we do in the United States? We sure as hell aren't collecting that data. And so where's Lambda? You want to freak out? Well, guess what? Lambda's been around the United States since January 20th of 2021. So why the big deal? Well, remember, 97% of all Peruvian samples are C37. And what happened here? Well, guess what? November of 2020 is when the Peruvians detected C37, Lambda. November, December, January, February, March, April, May. 7 months. 7 months, it became 97% of all variants in Peru. So wait a second. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months. August, 7 months. Guys, August isn't 7 months. So is Delta or Lambda going to be hammering us? Right? Is it going to be Delta, 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 or is it going to be the nerds from Lambda? I don't know. But I can tell you right now that B117 only really lit a fire in Michigan and Minnesota. Delta is lighting a fire in Missouri right now, and it's starting to jumpstart in Florida. Orlando's numbers are going up. I would be nowhere near Disney World in the next 3 months. You couldn't catch me dead there in the next 3 months. So we have to ask the question, why isn't Delta rocking everywhere? In Connecticut, how would we know? We're not doing an effective job of testing. And we're not doing, don't get me wrong, Nate Grubau and the lab up there is doing a great job with the samples that they're getting. But on average, we're only testing 10,000 people a day in Connecticut. 10,000 people. At the height of our testing, we're at 20% of the testing that we were when we were effectively testing in Connecticut. If you don't test, you can't do the rest. And what's the rest? It's genomic surveillance. And we cannot do that if we don't get enough samples. If we don't get enough positive samples, we're blind. We're blind. And we can't tell you why isn't it rocking everywhere. We don't know. We don't know. And I can tell you the Binax Now cards are not going to tell you the Delta variant. In addition to that, the state has a moratorium on it where we can't report to patients their variant status. Don't get me started. There's only one hope. And one hope that I have, especially with the myocarditis and especially with the worries and a lot of kids not wanting to get vaccinated because the myocarditis can cause reduction in your ejection fraction. The myocarditis can cause arrhythmias, and we're worried about fatal arrhythmias, people dying from a funny rhythm because their heart is inflamed. Why is their heart inflamed? Perhaps, as Dr. Malone would say, because the spike protein has bound CD147, resulting in significant issues in parasites in the endothelium and in our cardiac parasites affecting our heart. Cardiac parasites. Not parasites like, I don't know, like amoeba or something like that. But the question is, our cells called pericytes. So the question we have is, put simply, where's NOVAVAX lie? Where's the NOVAVAX data? The tetramer produced here is pretty clearly safer than the mRNA vaccines. So where's the data, NOVAVAX? You got to put it out. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck here because the virus is gonna virus. Virus gonna virus. We should be tracking these variants to track the risks. Lambda, right now, to me, the Peruvian variant known as Lambda or C37, not C3PO. C37 is a wild card. Testing has fallen off a cliff. Why? Due to lack of proper insurance payments, lack of governmental funding, aggressive enforcement agencies targeting labs, and the public praying to God that it's going to go away. We're not sequencing samples. We can't get a good feeling for trends. Our statistical sampling is off because we don't have enough data. In Peru, Lambda went to 97% of all samples. We have no clue where Delta or Lambda are going to go and what they're going to do, without effective testing, without effective genomic surveillance. So I'll say it again. If you can't test, you can't do the rest. That, in my mind, right now, it's where we're at, guys. That's where we're at. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Man, it's been a long time. It's been a really, really, really long time since I've been live streaming. I'm back at it. I'm refreshed. I want you guys to pay close attention to the Periscope Tales that I'm putting out. That is an anthology, my latest and greatest hits. You get to meet all of, not all, but a lot of my employees and volunteers. You get to meet some of the patients. You get to see what we did during 2020, which frankly was breathtaking. And I'm forever changed by it. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. So remember, this is Dr. Murphy, Murphy Medical Associates. You've watched Murphy's Medical Minute. Stay tuned for the next one. Remember, we are made to be well.
With